As you guessed it, I mean, you had to know this was coming. Now, personally, I've been kind of staying away from this whole Big Meech story because, truth be told, it really ain't worth it. You know, it's a lot of people who done unscrupulous things. The Big Meech situation is a it's not as cut and dry as it may seem. It's a whole lot of people that ate off of that case the same way now. All of these content creators are eating major off Meech. That's one thing. He's known for feeding the streets, and he is feeding the YouTube streets right now. I don't get it. Whether he snitched or not, it's still a good story. It's still one that people gonna watch and pay to see. And this is even getting even more entertaining as the days go on. But it's a little hard to follow. So in comes 1090 Jake, as you may have guessed it. And let's see what he got to say about this.
It's clear as day that he attempted to, but none of the information he provided was of any use or could be used against anyone. Sosa would accuse Blue.
The lawyer throwing it up. Y'all on record, you're doing too much.
Confirming things other informants had already stated. So while he technically wasn't making things worse, he definitely wasn't making them better. And he only did so to secure a lesser sentence. At one point, Big Meech would accuse Blue of snitching, but according to Blue, Meech would apologize after. And in the end, Blue would get the final laugh as his name remains stained. But it would be Blue that dropped the paperwork on.
And that's the whole thing. Everybody accusing everybody of snitching, and everybody got something questionable in their casework. So who's to say who's anything or not?
Big Meech. Blue would do an interview with Cam Capone back in 2023, providing the paperwork exposing Tammy Cohen's. Tammy was Big Meech's assistant. With Meech already taken down by the feds, Tammy would seemingly prove her loyalty by remaining in contact with Meech through calls and letters. With years in prison ahead of him, Meech would make a risky business move by signing over his life rights to Tammy. This now meant Tammy owned the life story of Big Meech and could turn it into millions.
Which is a big point of contention, because the understanding of this, which people not talk about, is Tammy was taking 30% off the top. So it was going to be some funk between them two no matter what. What's also being left out of this is it's documented that Tammy threatened to snitch on Meech while he was in jail if he didn't play ball her way on a couple of different topics and things of that nature. What's also not being talked about is Big Meech never seen the contract with Stars. He didn't know what his points was. He didn't know what he didn't know. There was somebody he was connected to on another business venture that, you know, you going in a partnership with somebody, y'all typically check each other out. So that partnership is what produced the contract for him to see what was in his contract. And from my understanding, him and Tammy wasn't speaking before he got out. 50 Cent silenced all this shit a little while ago, which kind of makes him fake to a degree, because there's no way he didn't hear about this snitching thing. But when it was beneficial, he rolled with it. I guess that's why he feel a way about loyalty. I'm not sure. I'm not sure at all. But to me, we all got to have a moral compass. Either some shit is cool or it's not cool. I can't tell you it's cool that you a snitch while I'm getting money with you and then expose you for being a snitch when you do something I don't like. That's not manly.
But this wasn't the only business move Meech made. While in jail, Meech met a cartel member by the name of Fidel Suarez. Suarez owned and operated a trucking company in California and had been investigated/arrested without conviction for drug trafficking in 2005 and 2009. Meech would use Tammy to connect Suarez with a lifelong friend named
Suarez. Arrested twice, no conviction. Pay attention.
Dion Gatling, who's more commonly known as the St. Louis drug lord Cuffy. Tammy would bridge the gap for further drug distribution, but what Cuffy and Suarez didn't know was she was a confidential informant and was reporting everything to the feds. CS1, or confidential source number 1, has been identified as Tammy Cohen's. Paperwork would state she first became a confidential informant for the Atlanta DEA back in 2009, where she provided information in a money laundering case that resulted in the successful prosecution and conviction of another Atlanta kingpin legend named Terry White.
It's believed that Terry White grew up in an Atlanta housing project, but when FBI and GBI agents arrested him last night, he was living here, a sprawling $200,000 mansion in Jonesboro. The 27-year-old was in the process of renovating his home, which features an outdoor swimming pool, a full-length basketball court, and more.
At a media room where there
Man, you get a lot for $200,000 in the South. Shucks.
were 24 TV sets on one wall hooked to a satellite dish, and you could hit a button and all 24 TVs would come on.
Agents seized the home and 3 cars which belonged to White, including this $110,000 Rolls-Royce, which was paid for in cash. But there was more to be found inside, $47,000 cash and a machine to count the money, thousands in gold jewelry and mink coats, a small catch of ammunition and weapons, including a loaded Uzi semi-automatic pistol.
The feds would note Tammy Cohen's was an unusual informant.
Now look, this is where people is getting thrown off. Look at the top of this line. CS2. CS2. Tammy ain't the only snitch. But let's see where he go with this.
As she had no criminal record, was not a known drug user, did not appear motivated by money, and was not looking to get a reduced prison sentence or charges dismissed. Instead, she appeared motivated by revenge, as Terry White had her unknowingly laundering money for him. Tammy Cohen's was not initially a paid informant, but an agent would put her in for an award that would be a percentage of the property seized in the case. Tammy would receive a total of $55,000 for putting away Terry White. When Tammy Cohen's became a confidential informant, she'd already been a longtime friend and associate of Big Meech. Specifically, she held the life rights of Big Meech, and in 2011, Meech requested her help in coordinating a delivery of cocaine through Suarez. Meech told Tammy he met Suarez while inside of a county jail in Michigan, and as time went on, Meech would ask her to connect Suarez with Cuffy. So she'd reported to the feds that Meech had her coordinate a cocaine delivery in 2011 while Meech was in prison. But for some reason, Meech would never face an indictment for her allegations. At a later evidentiary hearing, Tammy would deny that Meech had any involvement with drug trafficking activities between Suarez and Cuffy. She'd also deny Meech directed her to connect them. And now,
so which one is it? That's when it's getting kind of funny. So which one is it?
Now, the feds were starting to believe Tammy Cohen's was no longer a credible informant. That, and the fact that it was discovered she was sleeping with the federal agent assigned to her. So what would make her start covering up for Meech? Wiretaps would reveal Cuffy's alleged involvement in the murders of 2 individuals cooperating with law enforcement, and along with Tammy providing information on him drug trafficking, Cuffy would be indicted in 2014.
Wiretaps, murders. So with or without Meech, this guy was already going to jail. Let's just get that clear.
Cuffy's legal team would file motions that would leave Tammy Cohen's panicking. At this time, nobody knew she was an informant, and Tammy saw information within Cuffy's motion that she believed would allow people close to the case to identify her. The DEA agent controlling her would testify in court that she expressed concern over the motions and that she panicked and took several measures to try to protect herself. Apparently, Tammy drove several hours to Louisiana in an attempt to visit Big Meech in federal prison to explain her position and try to deflect any accusations. So essentially, she was seeking Meech's advice on how to handle being exposed as a confidential informant. It's believed she wasn't able to visit him, but when she did speak with him, Big Meech told Tammy he didn't want his name caught up in this mess. Nothing is said about Meech being shocked, surprised, or angry, and finding out his assistant, who he trusted with his life rights, was now working with the feds. He just didn't want his name being brought up, showing that he knew. To further protect herself and Meech, Tammy would state the wiretaps contained false information. She was now saying that Meech never connected Suarez to Cuffy, and that the DEA agent Tammy was having sex with was jealous of her relationship with Meech and was trying to frame him.
Which is also possible.
Feds would quickly realize Tammy was no longer credible, and due to the fear of being exposed, she was now attempting to distance Big Meech from Suarez and Cuffy. In 2019, at the age of 53, Cuffy would be sentenced to 27 years in prison for drug trafficking and use of firearms in furtherance of drug trafficking, resulting in death. Fast forward to 2024, Cam Capone
Is it me or Blue look like he losing weight?
would have Blue Da Vinci back on, but this time, Blue had none other than Cuffy on the line so he could speak out for himself from prison.
But I'm in here with a 27-year sentence based on Demetrius Flannery, as you all know as Big Meech.
But see, that's where it get kind of funny at, because Cuffy don't tell you nothing about the murders. He don't say nothing about it. It's like, whatever.
This would be backed by the paperwork that stated back in 2011, Tammy was tasked with targeting Hispanics involved in drug trafficking. She'd be spared from having to testify as they'd be sent back to Mexico. When asked if she gets something big, the DEA agent would interrupt her saying, "You'll get a lot of money." But instead, she asked to get Big Meech a time cut, to which the DEA agent said, "We can work on that." Cuffy discovered this through a Frank's hearing in which his legal team was able to cross-examine his accusers, including government agents and informants.
A DEA agent can't tell you that. That's something that like the district, not the district attorney, but the district attorney or something like that would have to promise or make that deal.
Tammy would be present to testify, and these transcripts are of what she said. Fidel Suarez was Hispanic, clearly pushing drugs through his trucking operation. Cuffy wanted drugs. With the power to essentially end the BMF series and expose Big Meech.
I don't know, bro. All of this shit is bullshit, and this is kind of why I got out the streets. You know what I'm saying? The air at the top is only so thin. The kingpin drug dealers are sitting right next to the politicians and the chief of police and all of that. Everybody is overly intertwined. Most of the time, they live in the same damn neighborhoods once you get up so high up the ladder. Now, it's pretty clear that there's a million people Meech could have snitched on and walked right out of jail if that's what he was doing. I haven't looked through all this paperwork, and at the very least, Meech has been unfair and disloyal to some of his own people before you even get to 50 Cent. And that word right there makes it even easier for a man's name to be sullied. Now, can I for sure say he did or didn't snitch? No. But it does, what I can say for sure is when he became aware of what was going on, he didn't necessarily do nothing to stop it. But then it's like, what could he have done? I don't know. Seems like everybody's too interested at tearing a motherfucker down, whether they deserve it or not. That's my take on it. We out. You know what I'm saying? Everybody ready for the takedown.